With many of the far-reaching changes that Grinding Gear Games has introduced in League of Kalandra, a large portion of the player base is understandably very upset. I can't say that I'm angry about all of the ways they've changed things, but I am going to add my voice to the overwhelming chorus of feedback. First of all, for Arch Nemesis, I can't really understand why Grinding Gear Games is trying to force Arch Nemesis into the core game so hard. In its current form, it is oppressively difficult, and rather than adjust the cause of the problem, being Arch Nemesis, GGG is instead rebalancing old content that has been working well for years, all to accommodate the forced addition of Arch Nemesis. The way I see it, there are a couple different changes that need to be made for Arch Nemesis to be tolerable. First and foremost, the offensive and defensive power of Arch Nemesis mods needs to be toned way down. In my opinion, no regular rare monster should be tougher to kill or more dangerous than the big bad map boss. Having a pool of mods that are specifically designed to counter specific builds is a quick way to ensure that those monsters are never fun to fight. Secondly, I don't think they should let Arch Nemesis stack on to other League monsters that are already built to be difficult. Specifically, Essence mobs and beasts have always had a good level of difficulty, and I think it would be just fine to leave them alone without shoving Arch Nemesis on top of them. I honestly don't really hate the specialized loot system based on what mods the Arch Nemesis monsters have, because I think it's exciting to kill a rare and have 14 gilded scarabs pop out, but I really don't think it's worth the extra difficulty from some of these mod combinations. As far as the general loot changes across the game are concerned, loot really is incredibly low right now. I've always been okay with the idea of less raw loot and like trash white items in favor of more relevant loot, but the levels right now are kind of absurd. Anyone can look at the loot from Empyrean's farming group and see that something's off. Chris Wilson said in a statement earlier that this is how they intended for loot to be, but they'll look into things and see if there's a bug that's preventing stuff from dropping properly. And honestly, even if there is no bug, I kind of hope they find a way to find a bug and magically make more loot show up. As far as Harvest is concerned, now that Harvest monsters don't drop loot other than Life Force, getting Life Force is the only reason to kill them. The fact that there's any chance to get 0 life force, let alone what feels like a 20 to 30% chance, really defeats the purpose and feels kind of bad. All they would have to do to make it feel better is make the life force drop from the collector itself after the encounter is done and set a minimum amount that will always drop, and I think it'll feel a lot better. Other than the chance for 0 life force, I really like the current Harvest iteration. I think the crafts could be better and the life force amounts could be adjusted, but in general I really like the idea of how Harvest currently works. As far as the Lake of Kalandra League mechanic is concerned, I've always liked build your own dungeon mechanics. I think all it really needs is buffed out loot, and if they adjust the difficulty of Arch Nemesis and general loot drops across the game, then I think it'll feel a lot better. My final thoughts on the matter, I'm sure there are a million little reasons why some of this feedback may be unrealistic, but those are just the things that I think would help improve the game from my perspective as a player. Anytime we see things that we don't like in a game, or anywhere really, if you're going to give feedback about it, I think it's really important to give it in a constructive and respectful way that will encourage the receiver to implement or at least engage with the feedback. I don't think GGG hates their players because their players are how they make money. I've seen people saying Lake of Kalandra is just a money grab, and that GGG was doing false advertising to get people to play the game and buy supporter packs and then ripping the rug out from under us and running off with our money. I think that's kind of silly to say, because the best money grab is making your customers happy, and saying they'll get more money by upsetting everybody is kind of just silly. With a couple of changes, some more open communication from Grinding Gear Games, and less toxicity from the players, I think everything will turn out okay. That said, if you enjoyed my takes and want to see more non-toxic Path of Exile content, I stream every Thursday and Friday, and I release videos on a weekly basis, so make sure you dab on that like button, yeet that subscribe, and come see me in another video.